Characters that are really prideful are some of my favorite in anime. A couple that I can think of includes Vegeta, who's really prideful, really arrogant, and he'll let you know about it. There's also Escanor, the lion sin of pride, and just a lot of other characters, whether it's about their beauty, their intelligence, their strength. Whenever they let you know like that they're the best in a particular aspect, I love those characters. The difference between those characters and Bakugo is that, well, I didn't like Bakugo when he was first introduced, at least like until season 3, I guess, and it's because of him being prideful, which is crazy to say because I literally just said that I like prideful characters. I can acknowledge his strength and respect it because I feel like if I didn't, then that would just make me a hater, denying the truth that Bakugo's strong, because he is. He's a fighting genius, very talented, has an amazing quirk. Gotta give credit when credit's due. But if I'm being transparent, I can't exactly put my finger on why I didn't like him, because he does the same exact thing that these other characters do, which is look down on other people. I guess the big difference is I don't think that this is a persona that Bakugo should have ever had. I don't think him being arrogant and being better or thinking that he's better than everyone else is where his character shines, and I get it. The part where he needed to be arrogant is something that was needed for his character development and the man that he is today, so I 100% agree with that. But seeing his growth, especially after the most recent episode, making like the beginning of him being such a brat, I guess you could say it's really rewarding seeing the man he is today. The reason why I got this video idea is because the most recent episode of My Hero, which is season 7 episode 11, I think that they took what Horikoshi drew and elevated it. Studio Bones did a phenomenal job of giving a peak performance to this episode. We got to see every aspect of Bakugo's character, his strength, motivation, pride, insecurities, just all of it on full display. And spoiler alert for the manga, in this episode Bakugo, his heart stopped, but we know that in the future he comes back to life because Ed Shot saved him. He ended up fighting against All For One, and we know that his body isn't the same, but he's still alive. Personally, if he would have died, I definitely would have been sad. But at the same time, I also think that if Horikoshi decided to kill him off, then this would have been the perfect way to do it. I think it would have been a perfect death. I don't really have a flow for this video. I just wanted to talk about the different moments that I saw Bakugo's true self and the different moments that allowed me to start liking his character. I'm going to try my best to go in order from when the chapters were released in the manga, but y'all know how I am. Sometimes I'm all over the place. Deku and Bakugo, we know that they fought several times throughout this series, but the scene I want to highlight the most is the one after Deku got his pro license. Bakugo's biggest issue is how insecure he is about Deku's growth. He thought that Deku was hiding tremendous strength from him, and seeing that someone like Deku, who he assumed was weak, was strong like this, he was always constantly chasing after him. In such a short time, he ended up catching up to him and even surpassing him. Imagine being good at something your entire life, you know, being the best, and someone that is behind you, or I don't want to use the word beneath you because I feel like that's very degrading, but someone that's not as good as you in that aspect, all of a sudden out of nowhere they just surpassed you, and you're like, well, what the heck happened? I know there are different times where I've been insecure, where I think I've tried my best or I worked harder than anyone else, just for out of nowhere someone to surpass me, and it kind of infuriated me, I'm not gonna lie. So I definitely get Bakugo here, because even if you don't necessarily mean to, for those of you that are like nice and don't hate people, sometimes you're going to get upset, sometimes you're going to be envious, it just happens. I also want to talk about how Bakugo feels about All Might being the guy that Bakugo looked up to. The fact that he was kidnapped, he believed that he ended All Might because he wasn't strong enough. The League of Vision took advantage of him, and All Might had to go in and save him, and that's why he lost One For All, which is technically kind of true. Bakugo, like him being captured, is why All Might had to fight, but well, the League of Villains are super strong, and well, All Might was going to lose his powers anyway, so it's not 100% the reason. I guess in the negative ways that Bakugo's thinking, at least that's not why All Might lost his powers. But we know how the fight went. I'm not going to dive too much into it. We know that they fought, Bakugo ended up winning, and in this fight they were able to hash out how they truly feel about each other, the different disconnects that they had. But we know that deep down they both want to be the strongest heroes, so they're going to fight in their own ways in order to achieve that goal. But if you guys have made it this far into the video, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you never miss out on a video. We post different content all the time. I love that even though being the #1 hero is so far away, if you compare Bakugo to someone like All Might, Deku, or Shigaraki, most people will probably suffer from despair. However, Bakugo, he still believes and strives to being the #1 hero. I remember the scene in season 6 when Deku was trying to lure Shigaraki away. While they were moving, Bakugo noticed that Deku was a little bit faster than him, and instead of suffering from that despair, he surpassed his limits and kept striving in order to keep up, and even surpassed his moving speed. So even when Bakugo realized that he wasn't My Hero's main character, he didn't suffer from despair and used it as motivation to surpass his rival, which I have to give credit for. And circling back to this episode, it's kind of crazy how much of a gap between Bakugo and Shigaraki was, because even after he got that amazing and sick awakening, he still got clapped. I know that Bakugo is only a teenager, still in his first year, and clearly has room to grow in terms of like physical strength, his use of his quirk, and just battle experience, but still. Since Deku was quirkless, Bakugo, he looked down on him, thinking that Deku was beneath him, but Bakugo felt that he was above him and couldn't accept the way that Deku was, and he was constantly trying to reject and constantly bullying him in order to reject his own insecurities. And now he acknowledges Deku and is truly sorry, and even apologized for everything that he's done up until now, and wants to work with Deku because he believes that's the best way to win. Heck, even in the fight against a souped up Shigaraki, Bakugo even pushed Deku out the way and sacrificed himself. Like, when did we think Bakugo was going to do something like that? And I know the movie's not canon, but this kind of reminds me a little bit of what we saw in Heroes Rising, seeing what these two could be when they worked together. Not even when Deku like just gave him one for all. I'm talking about the entire fight against Nine, where they were both in sync, and I wish we could have seen that more. But at the same time, I understand that their dynamic and character development between the two wouldn't be as good if that was the case. After the fight with Shigaraki, it's really beautiful seeing Bakugo's reaction to Deku passing on one for all and him going back to being quirkless, because in this moment Bakugo started crying since they could no longer compete for the #1 spot now that Deku was quirkless. And this is him coming along in such a beautiful way, from thinking that he's so much better than Deku and that Deku wasn't anywhere on his level, to now like thinking that they were going to compete side by side. It's a complete 180 from when we were first introduced to him. I think that this episode did a phenomenal job of showcasing the whole package of Bakugo, especially the best parts about him. Bakugo is someone who looks up to All Might and wants to strive to be like him. He's very strong and prideful, which is good because it shows that he cares. I think whenever pride switches to arrogance, that's when it's something bad. But he's insecure and doesn't want to be looked down upon, and he wants to be the best, and when someone challenges that, it made him the type of guy that he was at the beginning of the series. But now he's accepted his insecurities and he takes on more. He relies on others and not necessarily thinks that he's above him. He's willing to listen, willing to listen to Deku, Best Genius, Endeavor, and All Might, and he does this all because he believes that's the best way for him to grow, the best way for him to win and be like the man that he looked up to. When the series first started, I can confidently say that Bakugo wasn't a top 10 character for me, but now after watching like his growth after the fight with Deku, and especially what happened in this episode Bakugo isn't just in my top 10, he might be my favorite character in My Hero Academia. But let me know how you guys feel about this episode, feel about Bakugo's character development, him as a character. If you like him, you love him, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never saw a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.